large raindrops. Follow me. They say I always left a paper trail. Duffel bag in the attic, now how that paper smell. And I must have left it there for several years.
What's up, Tone? How you doing, man?
I'm good. What's good with you, Herschel?
Nothing much. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, you know?
It's been a little minute. I know the
Too
fans
long.
are probably anxious for something.
But we do want to say welcome back. This is, of course, Real Talk Beyond the Headlines. Real Talk BTH. You can find us on Twitter and Gmail. Real Talk BTH. Hit us up. Today we've got an interesting topic. Tune, what do we want to talk about today?
Well, what we're talking about is an addition to our Unpopular Opinions series, which we only have one of right now. So
It's about to be a series.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I have two unpopular opinions, and we're just gonna debate that. I don't know. I actually don't know if Herschel agrees with my opinion, but we'll find out. So the first, this is the title. Should the NFL choose the dirty over you? And the dirty is, I guess, illegal drugs.
Yes, and even in some cases, legal drugs.
Right. Well, as far as the NFL is concerned, they're illegal. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll just go ahead and start off and say that I think the NFL, based on what I have recently learned from watching HBO Real Sports featuring Bryant Gumbel. That's Bryant Gumbel. Definitely watch that show. So from what I learned on that show, it turns out that cannabis, different neurotransmitters associated with the marijuana plant, can lessen the effects of traumatic brain injury. This basically means that weed can lessen the effects of CTE, which we all know is the NFL's number one issue right now. What don't you think so, Herschel?
Yes, absolutely. But the problem is it too liberal for the NFL to make that jump and just legalize that? Even if it is, helpful to the players, does it improve the product that the NFL wants to present into every home in America?
Let me put it, this is the way I see it, Herschel.
Okay.
The number one issue the NFL is dealing with right now is CTE and brain injury in general because of the nature of their sport. It's an incredibly high collision contact sport. And the results of this are that the players are getting this disease called CTE. Their brains are deteriorating over years. And right now it's like their biggest issue because we have players who are committing suicides because of it. We have movies, Hollywood movies that are being made because of it. We have the NFL paying retired players almost, I think it was $700 million in that in their court case, whatever. Look it up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge issue for the NFL. And if we have a substance, aka marijuana, that can lessen the effects of CTE, and also marijuana is legal in some states, and also everyone likes to smoke weed, why not? I mean, what's the point of having this really old, I guess, system of control, of substance control in the NFL? I mean, it's archaic, it's stupid. I think they should just move on and legalize it in the NFL.
To be honest, I think you touched on a really important point there. But I'm going to take the opposite take. I don't think it should be legalized, or I don't think the NFL should think about legalizing it because of control. You were saying, the way they're controlling what, actually, is weed a controlled substance? Is it considered a controlled substance?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's an illegal substance.
Okay. And
in Colorado, is it a controlled substance? I mean, is alcohol controlled?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to look it up. But
so that I guess that brings me to my second point, which is, or my second view of this particular issue is that I think it could have a chance of lessening the quality of the product the NFL gives us.
You think legalizing it would make it less of a product?
Well, when I say legalize, I mean like let NFL players use it as they choose.
Mm-hmm.
Same with alcohol. There's no penalty for drinking alcohol, but whatever ramifications you have to deal with for using it, that's your problem. I think that's the way we should be in the NFL. But, for people who have smoked weed over a long period of time, you'll realize that you start to have a little bit of lethargy about you, about your personality. You are demotivated. You have like a little bit of memory loss, and that could lessen the product that the NFL is bringing to the table. So that's the other viewpoint. I mean, after what I'm presented to you, Herschel, how do you feel about this?
So I honestly think the NFL this wouldn't be in the best interest of the NFL because they want all their players, even though it may help for cases where brain damage may be an issue or CTE may be possible in a potential player. I think the idea that the owners have is they want these players to feel like they're replaceable. If there's something like marijuana that's already illegal in most states in the United States, it's not a big moral step for the NFL to take to say, oh, well, you found this research that it helps. Oh, that's okay. We still, Jamal Charles has an incredible deal right now. But he's gotten hurt and has almost been showed to be replaceable. And I think that really hurts how he's going to be looked at moving forward. But let's say, there was a magic drug, say HGH were able to allow him to recover even more quickly and get back onto the field. The NFL or, whomever the owner of the Chiefs is going to have to, double down on that investment. Like, Jamal Charles is a proven back. Instead of going out and getting this new rookie back for cheap, I have to pay Jamal Charles. Because of that, I think the NFL, being the business that it is, will never move to that liberal side of the spectrum. To me, the NFL is a conservative organization. It would be taking away from the brand that they've already built. Alcohol, I think, ties in very well with the structure of the crowd that the NFL is going for. I think maybe in 15, 20 years when, 99% of United States, have legalized weed, then I think the NFL should start to have that conversation. But right now, in 2016, I don't think it makes sense for them to even bring that into conversation.
And you know what, Herschel, you make a very good point, and I feel like I understand you very well. And what I'm basically saying in my argument is that the NFL should take that step of sort of being a liberal. It's a very liberal step. You know what I'm saying? I think that they should just stop beating around the bush because the evidence speaks for itself. And you're right. The NFL is a little bit of a conservative organization. Like, they're not the type that would just readily embrace the legalization of marijuana, just as a lot of the conservative states and politicians are not ready to embrace marijuana, although the evidence speaks for itself. But I still want to argue a little bit on this, Herschel.
Okay.
So let me just read this short little paragraph to you. Cannabinoids are one of the neurotransmitters that are found in marijuana. Mm-hmm. And when they stimulate certain parts of the brain, this is based off of different research. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you could find some of it on the internet. Cannabinoid administered to mice with brain injuries caused a significant reduction of brain swelling, as well as better clinical recovery, reduced infarct volume, and reduced brain cell death compared to control group, which obviously would not have been stimulated with cannabinoid. And I just want to define infarct volume. Infarct is a small localized area of dead tissue resulting from failure of blood supply. That's infarct, INFARCT. Okay. Don't say that you didn't learn anything on this podcast. But basically, what I'm saying is that there's data showing that cannabinoids are lessening the effects of traumatic brain injury. Okay, and this is traumatic brain injury, not CTE. CTE, do you think we can agree is like a mini traumatic brain injury? Mm-hmm. Like every time they hit, it's like a really small, minuscule form of traumatic brain injury. So why wouldn't marijuana be able to relieve the effects of that? Like the data speaks for itself, Herschel. How can you argue with that?
I think what it becomes then is not so much, a financial decision as a social decision. Then we have to think like, wow, we're really hurting these guys out here. how much do we really care about the danger that this sport presents? And when you find the cure to the danger, I think for a lot of people it may take away, not necessarily their love for the game, but we're starting to pad the game more and more. However, the game naturally has evolved, and in attempting to build better helmets and better padding here and there, they have taken the steps. I just think introducing a foreign body to an athlete is where the NFL is going to draw the line. Everything short of surgery.
What do you mean by foreign body?
Any drug, anything that the player would have to ingest, aside from like natural proteins that their diets they're eating. I think the NFL would rather, oh man, well you need this surgery, we'll take care of this surgery, but we won't give you the HGH to recover. They'll stitch you together without.
Okay, so I guess the NFL is just trying to stay very natural. I mean, steroids are sort of. I mean, I don't know too much about them, but
well, I do.
Added steroids are unnatural.
Yeah.
So,
but is that not going to be added? Is it not a short jump from legalizing marijuana to legalizing HGH to legalizing every other steroid that's potentially on the market?
Okay, you make a very good point, and I want to present this to you, Herschel.
Okay.
What about all of the prescribed painkillers that the NFLs take? And I'm talking about the serious stuff, not ibuprofen, aspirin, stuff like that. I'm talking about like hydrocodone and maybe Percocet. I don't know if the NFL players actually get prescribed that, but inside the HBO documentary show featuring Bryant Gumbel, I learned that a lot NFL players, like, the go-to for their pain is these opioids, these opioid pills that I'm sure you're familiar with, Herschel. And one NFL player, I forgot his name, he's retired Broncos tight end, he was saying that him and a lot of players, he said maybe 50% of the players in the NFL prefer to just smoke a joint and relax and lay back because it has been proven to reduce the effects of pain. So how do you determine that these pills are okay but marijuana is not? And I understand what you mean about they don't want to introduce, like, I guess you would say maybe these foreign objects, these foreign bodies, like you said, HGH, marijuana. I can understand that, but what makes opioids different?
Money. I think money talks. I think these pharmaceutical companies have their hands in the pocket of one of the largest businesses in the United States of America at the end of the day. But
they say it don't be like that, but
how do you feel about the argument, since you just mentioned that so many players in the NFL use marijuana in some way, shape, or form? How do you feel about the argument that the NFL knows that its players are doing this and they essentially turn a blind eye? What coaches don't care about, what scouts don't care about, when they're interviewing a player, meeting a player, whether or not they smoke weed, it's whether or not they'll be able to pass that drug test. Whenever it's time for the drug test to come up, because they know what time it is every time, can a player be disciplined enough to beat the system, essentially? And they recognize that it's a system. I think that's very interesting. And to be honest, to actually take it beyond just football, in the MLB, in the majors, it's easier to beat a drug charge than it is in the minors. They are more stringent on marijuana, on HGH. Everyone is stringent on steroids in this day and age. It's really interesting that they put such a microscope on their minor league when their major league is carefree, essentially. It's a really interesting privilege that Major League Baseball has created there.
So you're saying that if you get caught in the minors, it's like way worse of a punishment?
Yes.
Okay. So the substance
abuse policy is much more stringent.
They say it don't be like that,
but even for the NFLs, it's incredibly stringent after you get into the system after one time. But to be honest, I think the majority of NFL players also smoke weed. Even if it's just in the off season or they find a way to get around it during the season. But to be honest, I would like for it to be legalized because that would be more power for the players, more comfort for the players. I'm generally going to take the player side when it comes to issues battling, the ownership and the sport itself. But this is a really tough argument. How do you feel about how it might make, people feel like the jump to legalizing HGH will be right around the corner? Do you think, how do you feel about HGH? Do you think it would be, feasible to legalize in the NFL? Because it, doesn't have that negative stigma that marijuana has in our society today?
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. I see that brain injury of all kinds, CTE, and all of the, I guess, supplemental forms of brain injury is the NFL's biggest problem. And I think that weed should be at least legalized so that it's another form of medication, or I guess lessens the effect of CTE. But another one of the NFL's biggest problems is players being injured, star players being injured. And if HGH can help them recover, I think the NFL will have to find a way to truly control this substance, like really have policies for control for HGH. But I think also that HGH should be allowed to in the NFL and for players to recover. So to be honest, like I actually don't even know too much about HGH. I do think that the NFL should find a way to incorporate it for the recovery of players, but maybe I'm wrong. Well, like, can you at least educate me, Herschel, on what HGH is and how it works?
So when we're looking at HGH, we actually have to look at this through two different scopes. We have to look at it through the medical approach in just human growth hormone treatment for therapy versus growth hormone for sports. And that's a very fine line that we have to draw. Technically, human growth hormone does qualify as a steroid. It actually promotes muscle growth, bone strengthening. And in children, it increases height. The classic case of low-key Greg Oden. I know there were a lot of allegations against him for taking HGH as he was coming up through Ohio State. And we can see that, his growth was astronomical. One of the other issues are that it increases all internal organ growth except for the brain, stimulating cell growth and regeneration, which can, be one of the many places where it's most applicable for medical therapy. It also promotes lipolysis, so that's going to be fat breakdown. And in sports, again, if you want your player playing at peak position or peak form in his or her position, it only makes sense that you would use such a supplement. The issue, though, is the body naturally creates this, and when you would introduce a supplement, there are many other issues that actually can come along with the excess use of HGH. The problem is we don't know where to draw the line. To be honest, there isn't enough information about long-term HGH use because it's relatively new to the market. We've kind of only been hearing about it pop up more so than just the broad name of steroids, in the past few years, But actually, one of the issues can be a pituitary tumor, though it would be benign and potentially removable. That is, a tumor being created on the body from an ingested supplement, and no matter what, that can be very dangerous.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that HGH has benefits for therapy.
Yes.
For physical therapy, not talking about sports, just for someone who's hurt.
Yes.
But the problem is that when you start adding certain amounts of it, or even adding any amount, it's like adding a steroid to your system.
Essentially,
which technically, the issue with that in sports is that steroids are performance enhancing. So I fully understand the argument against it. As far as HGH is concerned, definitely you want to keep the integrity of the sport intact. But let's just think about how many players got injured. And I don't know if HGH could help them recover faster to come back in the season. I know that HGH can help them with recovery overall, but one of the NFL's biggest problems is that players are getting injured, and we can't have star players because players just get injured.
But here's the thing, though. Is that a problem for the NFL?
Well, no, because someone's always going to step up when someone's hurt.
Exactly. The idea that they're replaceable is, always ingrained in them,
Yeah.
And the system repeats itself. No matter what, man, no matter which quarterback was starting for the Broncos, you were going to watch the Super Bowl. Whether it was terrible Peyton Manning, good Peyton Manning, HGH Peyton Manning, or Brock Osweiler, you were going to watch, bro. No matter what.
You're absolutely right about that. But are you going to watch? Would you watch the NFL if you knew there were certain players on the field like Le'Veon Bell? He's injured. He takes some HGH to recover, and it's legal. The NFL says it's legal. And when he comes back and he's looking super swole, looking fast as fuck, and okay, maybe the HGH might have helped out. Would you watch?
Yes. But here's the thing.
Exactly. We're going to watch it. It doesn't matter what happens.
Here's what you got to think about. You've got to make it a level playing field. If you ban it for everyone, I think that's a much more, I don't think a level playing field is possible. But I think disallowing HGH, alleviates that problem. If you allowed HGH, I can only imagine the superheroes that will be out here doing incredible stuff while people who are still trying to make it are getting essentially murdered on the field. I think the sport is already too dangerous, and if you just enhance these guys even more, it's just going to be more bodies slamming into bodies. The sport is too dangerous.
Okay, Herschel, this is probably another topic for another day.
Okay.
But honestly, who cares? No one cares about NFL players, okay? The NFL doesn't care about NFL players. The fans don't care about NFL players. And NFL players don't care about NFL players.
Listen, man, the players are people too.
They are people. And yes, I absolutely fully recognize that. And I'm sorry that they get injured, but I don't care. I want to watch football. And you need to get back on that field so I can watch you play football. Do you understand what I'm saying? This sport is addicting, and no one cares about these players. I'm sorry. I mean, it's a really harsh thing to say because if we did care, they wouldn't be out here playing this game. But who cares about if they come out and, they recover this quickly or that quickly or they don't recover at all? It's going to be next man up no matter what.
All right, so let me ask you this. Is it okay because they're grown men? Is it okay because they're professionals in the NFL?
Is it okay that...
Is it okay that right now people want to send them back out there no matter what? Is it okay because they're between 22 and 30?
Yeah.
Versus so that is okay?
Well, I guess you're getting it as opposed to the NCAA where these are still kids and we should be looking out for their health because their future is not fully in their control yet because they're still kids, they're still growing,
That's true.
Mentally. So but you're saying as grown ass men who have jobs who make decisions for their own self, is it okay? And I'm saying this is a job, this is a business. And I don't think if you know that the people watching this business, this sport are going to watch no matter what, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if the players get injured? And why does it matter that we can't let them use HGH to recover? I mean, look, if I knew players were using HGH, I don't care. I'm going to watch the sport. I don't care. And if I knew a player was injured and he can't ever play again,
you're still going to watch.
I'm still going to watch no matter what. It doesn't matter. I'm going to watch football because I love football. And that's what the NFL, I think, needs to realize is it doesn't matter what they do. People are going to watch it.
Do you think Rob Gronkowski has ever used HGH?
Rob Gronkowski has come back from some injuries. And
very quickly.
And he's
superhuman.
Also one of the best receivers in the league. Not just tight ends, but receivers in the league. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you're basically asking me what do I think is the actual usage of HGH. Is it 0%? Probably not. What percentage of players are using HGH? In the off season, when they're not being monitored quite as much.
Do you think Peyton Manning used HGH. Tunde.
I low-key do think Peyton Manning used it.
You heard it here first! You heard it here first!
I mean, this man, like, the way they talked about his neck injury on ESPN, like, you would think this guy was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Like, and then he comes back and he goes to the Super Bowl twice and wins one of them. And he also broke all those records, all those Brett Favre records after this surgery when he was on the Broncos. He threw for 5,500 yards, I think, and 55 touchdowns that one season. And, I mean, like, maybe he's just Peyton Manning. He's a great player, but I'm just saying, man, the way they talked about his neck injury, you would think he would be wearing a brace for the rest of his life or some shit. I don't know.
You know what, man? Why haven't we been celebrating Peyton Manning? I feel like the media hasn't been celebrating him enough. He's had 2 rings. He's been to 4 Super Bowls. He's back in the conversation with Tom Brady as the best quarterback of all time. Because I was straight up ready to give it to Tom Brady and just walk away and just die happy.
I mean, if he wouldn't have won, I would still think he's the best quarterback.
Really?
I'm a little bit of a Peyton Manning fan. I like Peyton Manning a lot because I see that he does things cerebrally more than anything. It's speaks to his intelligence on the field. But, I mean, I would have to say probably just because the way he won it, he was out for half the season. His defense really carried the team, and his performance in the Super Bowl was really mediocre. Like, you know, I suppose that could be it, the reason why. But I do think he deserves more recognition for the Super Bowl win. And yeah, Peyton Manning has used HGH. You heard it here.
So now I have to ask, what do you think the percentage is if you had to put a number on it? And could you pure speculation, you know, could you name anybody? Who else do you think would be, a prime candidate? Somebody who's just athletic, who shouldn't be athletic.
I'll say, I think 25% of the league has used it, even if it was just one time. Use HGH. Okay, I'll go with actually 15%. I think a player would only really use it if they get injured. You know.
Anyway. In real sports with Bryant Gumbel, they were actually discussing how these college coaches were intimidating the team doctors to the point where they would rush players back out onto the field as quickly as possible in a lot of situations where the player might have gotten hurt again, whether it be through concussion or just playing through other bodily injury that It mattered more that the school win and they make that $1 million, TV deal than the student on the field, who is also not getting paid, by the way. But I know that's another question, another conversation for another day.
So are you saying that you think that in some maybe very rare cases, some college players might be using HGH?
Yes.
Okay. It would probably be a very low percentage, but what percentage?
8%.
8% of college players have used HGH?
I think it's some of these smaller programs where people aren't, where the NCAA isn't, looking all the way into everything.
Yeah.
I think people are trying to get by. They're trying to get out, man.
That's what it comes down to,
yeah.
People are trying to get by. And, I mean, a lot of people will do a lot for their career. Mm-hmm. Before they actually begin their career, by going to college and in some cases taking on a lot of debt, tax their bodies, staying up all night, drinking a lot of coffee. People will do what it takes in order to achieve their career goals and get paid what they want to be paid for their work. And so I don't see why some NFL players or, college football players wouldn't use it.
One of the real issues that I see right now is that when you acquire illegal HGH, the kind that is not prescribed by doctors for medical use, it's actually been reported that it can be even more dangerous and causing things like carpal tunnel syndrome, hypertension, and in some cases even diabetes developing, just because these weren't prescribed in a medical fashion and essentially abused in excess.
See, that's why the NFL should legalize it and regulate it. And
I think that's asking for more problems, though.
Okay, you're absolutely right about that. But do you think there is anything like just basic off the top of your head fashion that this could be regulated? Like, let's say players who have an ACL injury. If you have an ACL injury and it's of this, magnitude of actual damage, then yes, you can use HGH to recover, to save your career or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you think there's any way it could be regulated in the NFL?
I didn't think about that.
No, because even now, it's very difficult to test for. I think only very recently were they able to manage to find it, and you can't even get it through urine testing. It's got to be done through blood test. So it's very difficult.
It's a very sticky and not very clear terrain. But look, as far as I'm concerned, the two biggest problems in the NFL are our discovery of this disease called CTE, and also NFL players being injured and in some cases ruining a whole team season.
See, the thing is, just like you said, though, we don't care. We were going to watch anyway. Bro, I don't care who was in the Super Bowl. I was probably going to watch that. The NFL doesn't... I don't even know who their target market is anymore. Like, either you're going to watch or you're not. And everyone watches.
Yeah. I mean, but I think in order to make the game better, I guess. I mean, I suppose it is the way I'm, presenting this unpopular opinion is for the players, because it will help the players more than anything. But I guess you're right. Like, if the players are hurt or healthy or whatever, or who cares how the players feel? Like, we're gonna watch the game. So why even go through all this hoopla of legalizing marijuana or legalizing HGH? It makes perfect sense, but NFL needs to just go ahead and be a little bit more liberal. But anyway, the unpopular opinion, Herschel, is that I think the NFL should allow the use of marijuana, at least cannabinoids in some fashion, for players to recover for medicinal purposes, and also because it has been proven in mice, yes, but it has been proven that it lessens the effects of traumatic brain injury, which by the transitive property will lessen the effects of CTE. And also because of the vast number of injuries that the NFL deals with on a yearly basis, that they should allow players who use HGH, and they should regulate it. I don't know how. They should find a way, and hopefully we can get more players back on the field quicker and avoid injuries maybe.
Again, though, would you give it to everyone, or would you just give it to people who were injured?
I mean, I think that would be a way to regulate it based on injury, but I think personally that every player should be able to use it in whatever fashion they think, just like other drugs or other supplements, I guess, whatever.
I think that leads to abuse very quickly. Don't you?
Who cares?
What?
Do you think I care if my NFL players are abusing HGH? No, just as long as they're ready to get on the field on Sunday after I wake up and curse everything because Chick-fil-A's not open, I can't get a chicken biscuit. So I turn on the TV, watch a little bit of ESPN Sunday night or Sunday whatever on ESPN, and I'm ready to watch some football just as long as these players are ready to play. I don't care if they abuse their HGH. I don't care if they spend all night smoking weed, getting high as fuck. I don't give a shit. Anyway, if you made it this far into our podcast, thank you for listening. But why don't you leave us a few comments and let us know, like, should the NFL allow the dirty? Should the NFL allow their players to use the dirty? Marijuana, HGH, cocaine? I don't know. I mean, who cares? Why do we need to regulate all this stuff? We love the game. We're going to watch it anyway. So why regulate it? Why ban it? Why legalize it? Let us know what you think. Herschel, any closing comments?
Hit us up at Real Talk BTH on Twitter and Gmail. Real Talk BTH. Damn.
You heard it here. We need to think of some new catchphrases, man.
All right.
I mean, you heard it here. It's tight. It's cool. I feel it's heavy, but I mean, we're not gonna be Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless with just one catchphrase.
Gotta have a repertoire. Okay. All right.
So actually, fans. In the comment section, why don't you just go ahead and leave us a few catchphrases that we can maybe try.
That's a great idea.
Maybe we'll try it on the next one. Anyway, peace.
Smoke weed every day.
Bruh, so I know you were talking about these mice being tested with marijuana for brain damage. Bruh, I gotta ask you though, how were these mice, like, how did they acquire this brain damage? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, bro. I was thinking the same thing when I was reading these articles. Like, I mean, they're testing brain damaged mice. You know,
Yes.
I don't think these mice are being born with the brain damage gene.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to be.
Yo, to make it a legitimate test, do they like smash them into a wall? Like, what's
That's what
bruh,
I don't know. That's what I was thinking,
that's
man.
mad inhumane. Like,
Hell
wow.
yeah, animals be taking shit from humans, right?
bro, sometimes though that shit is for the greater good of science. Like, bruh, smash some mice into a wall if it's gonna save the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that not? Because mice, NFL,
Mice
bruh,
football. You know what I'm choosing.
I'm sorry.
But I was thinking, man, like these traumatically brain injured mice. Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm gonna have to cut that out.
Take your time.
Oh, yeah. These traumatically brain injured mice, like they're basically like bacteria in biological studies, or like insects. Like they're like, no one gives a shit about them. They're gonna breed them to whatever they like. Science is gonna breed them as much as possible to whatever requirements are needed. Like, as opposed to like a horse, you know. I don't think we're just out here brain damaging horses and shit, you know, for the sake of study, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo.
mice are basically like bacteria. Like, they're disposable.
Bruh, I mean, are horses not disposable to human beings? Like, do we not, you know, run them into the ground and then make glue,
And then
bruh?
pow!
Like, yeah, bruh. That shit is crazy.
Shit.
Bruh, to be
That's a good
honest,
point.
you know, that's just a sign of, like, human dominance, bro. Like, we've domesticated, like, the earth. Like, we know where everything is at. Like, all right, it's tigers and shit out there that might get us, but we know to get the fuck away from there, or like lock them up.
Bro, we
That's
have
all
tigers
it
in
is.
captivity, bro.
Yes.
Like, we're
Right.
making tigers go extinct.
We won. Like, dude, they're the trophies, bro.
Yeah,
That's
man.
crazy. Yo, imagine though. Not to get too like intergalactic on you, but like sometimes I consider, what if there was something else that just came down and was like, yo, yeah, we run this now. Like, they, you know, they weren't concerned with, you know, our society at all. Like, they were just wiping us out because it's a part of what they do. Like some predator stuff. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, we come here and kill. Like, this is, you know, this is how we eat. This is how we live.
I mean,
Like, it's over.
that's the circle of life, man. What if
Yeah.
they just, you know, was getting a whole bunch of humans and smashing the fuck out of them on a wall and studying
Yeah, doing
their brains,
experiments and shit. That'd be crazy.
pumping us up with
Bro.
weed, trying to see if we could walk with our traumatically brain injured brains and shit, man, you know?
That's crazy, man.
But I just thought it was interesting, like how are these mice getting traumatically brain injured, man? I was thinking, you know, have you seen Spectre?
Yes.
James Bond Spectre? You remember at the end when the villain had him in that chair and
Yeah.
he had that weird ass surgical bullshit, man?
Yeah, I didn't really like that part. But continue.
Well, first of all, I love that part.
Really?
I mean, okay, after it, let me finish what I was gonna say.
Okay.
But I was thinking maybe that's how they brain injured these mice. You know, they just got them in like some device and they just got. Anyway,
That's true.
that part was cool, but after was so whack. Like, this nigga got a fucking gun and was just like pow 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 pow, like Call of Duty. Like, this nigga had a girl on his arm, just like one hand shooting with the fucking AK. Just like, pow, 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 pow.
It was incredible, right? Yes.
Way too incredible.
Bruh, see, so here's the thing. That movie, I really liked that movie because it was James Bond, but I didn't like it because it was like cliche, like storybook
so
James
cliche,
Bond.
bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Skyfall was incredible to me because I felt like it was something a little different. Like the female protagonist died like halfway through, and you're like, yo, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But with this one, with Spectre, I really, spoiler alert, BT dubs, but I felt like I could predict everything that was about to happen. The ending where he's, you know, saving everybody from the building at the end, or the girl from the building at the end, like, I knew he was gonna escape like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was like super predictable. I forgot who I was talking to about it, but they told me that he didn't even want to do this movie.
Really?
Craig? Yeah, he was trying to get out of the contract, but apparently he had already signed up for 4. So I feel like this was just like that last filler one before moving on to the next generation. Because that shit was so cliche. Like, it was good, you know, just from the effects, the visual effects, and, like, you know, James Bond, but it was hella cliche, like you said, and whatever, man.
Yo, I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but, like, so the James Bond series used to be, like, incredibly campy the way, you know how Austin Powers kind of makes fun of that, like, spy cinema type shit? Mm-hmm. So, apparently, James Bond used to be that way, and then Austin Powers was so good at parodying James Bond that they could no longer, you know, do that type of movie. They had to make it like the serious Daniel Craig, like I'm about to play poker for, you know, the entire movie, and then get the girl, and then shoot up all these people. Like, instead of being able to make the sexual innuendos or, you know, just the cliche, like, silly things, the you know, outlandish gadgets. Instead, they had to go incredibly serious. And
that's so, like, the way older version you're saying was kind of like...
Yeah, like, Sean Connery was low-key, like, he was clever, but it was, like, funny. It was, like, there was a female protagonist called Octopussy. Like, come on, man. It was basically...
I mean, I thought that was just what it was, but now that I think of it, that shit is kind of funny as hell.
Yeah. Like, there are a lot of, like, subtle innuendos, especially in the older ones, that are just, like, not subtle, I guess I would say. But they had to get away from that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But those Austin Powers movies were pretty hilarious.